let's jump into the lesson of the week. What I wanted to really talk about today is about a month ago, we had put out this free form. I've mentioned this on this before, giving away 2 free coaching calls. And that's all for just building content for some of the things that we're doing. But we took all of the answers that, or I should say questions that people have as they filled out that form. We took all of that and put it into Chat GPT. And we asked it to summarize the main points. So we had I think it was 71 or 72 people who registered for that free call. And each one of them had to put 2 to 3 questions or topics that they wanted to cover should they win the free call. We took all those questions, put them into Chat GPT. And one of the biggest things that we saw was, how do I create a balancing act between my personal and professional life? And real estate is a lot like retail. We work when other people are off, right? Especially if you're just starting off, or if you work with buyers, you're going to work when a lot of people are normally off. And it got me thinking about, what is it? And I want you guys to write this question down, okay? What is it that I have to master to create the best balancing act between my personal and professional life? What is it that I have to master to create the best balancing act between my personal and professional life? And I'll never forget, back in March, I think it was March, I was on a call with Gary Keller, and I told him, I said, this shift in the market is revealing a lot of the violations of the law of success. Like, if you're a success police officer, your job is to ultimately enforce the laws of success. We're seeing a lot of violators out there right now. We're seeing that, the shadow effect of the market is now becoming a spotlight. And so I asked him, I said, Gary, if you were a success officer and you had to enforce one law of success over all others, which one would it be? And he said, I think there's really only one law of success anyway, and it's the 80-20 principle. And when he said that, I had heard the 80-20 principle so many times that it kind of went one ear and out the other. And until I saw all those answers, or all those questions, on that Chat GPT form. And so I started thinking about that. And what I come to know is that for me, myself included, and for many of you, you have knowledge of the 80-20 principle, but it is not wisdom. See, the difference between knowledge and wisdom: knowledge is just what you know. Wisdom is what you live. Most of you understand the 80-20 principle as a concept. You have knowledge of it. And I want you to understand that I am lumping myself in with you. I'm not speaking as if I've got this all figured out, but we don't live it. And Gary said that one of the most frustrating things for him in his position is that people treat the 80-20 principle as if it's a rule to be broken instead of a law to be obeyed. And in the quest to help people create more of a balancing act, I came up with the 5 B's of 80-20 mastery. B like boy. Okay. Now, me, everything has to start with the same letter or some stupid acronym. The only reason I do that is because it helps me remember everything. And so I'm going to give you each of these step by step. And I want you to think of each one of them as a question. Okay. So the first B is batching. Now, batching is grouping specific tasks that are similar and doing them all together. So batching could be like, if you do business spotlights in your business, like Mary Cheatham King, every single week they do Coffee with MC. And what they do when they record those is they batch them. They have several of them at the same time. Podcasters do the same thing. Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss, the people, Jen Hatmaker is another one. Rather than just doing a podcast once a week, they might do 3 or 4 all in the same day or the same 2 days. But what is it in your life? What are the specific tasks that you could group together in one large time block instead of doing it sporadically. For me, when I thought about this, it's our newsletter. Instead of doing the newsletter once a week, I need to just create a 3 to 4 hour block of time and do all the newsletters at one point. But what is it that you need to batch? The second thing is buffer blocks specifically. Now, if you've ever read the 12-week year, this is where I picked up on this idea. I don't know if they're the ones that created it, but it's setting a time ahead or aside in advance to handle unexpected tasks. So what that means is no matter how well you plan your calendar, there are always going to be unexpected fires to manage. And one of the things that I really want people to do is to create 2 45-minute buffer blocks every single day, one in the morning and one in the evening. Now, ideally, the one in the morning would come right after your lead generation time block. I think one of the mistakes that we make is if you have 2 hours to lead gen, for example, and then you butt a seller or a buyer or a team appointment right up against it, you shortchange the lead generation time block because you're thinking about preparing for that appointment. What I would rather you do is put a buffer block in between those two things. In fact, I have a client right now that she is absolutely killing it in Denver. And when I asked her, I was like, what is the kind of secret ingredient to your success here? She said, I stopped taking all appointments before 1 o'clock. She will not go on an appointment before 1 o'clock. It doesn't matter what the appointment is. She won't do it. And that's been a hard rule that she's been following. And so what that does is it creates a buffer in between appointments and her lead gen so that she is systematically working through her day. And so a buffer block is just a time that you set aside to manage fires, return the phone calls, emails, anything that may have come up unexpectedly. And ideally, you would put one in the morning right after lead gen, and then one in the afternoon that you would finish your day on, 30 to 45 minutes tops. Now, the other thing about this is it keeps you from task switching. And what I mean is that think of like your time and how you do tasks, like little unexpected things, returning phone calls, email, text messages, whatever, as you do laundry. I don't think that you go home, take off one set of clothes, put them in the washer, wash them, take them out, put them in the dryer. You wait till you have a pile, and then you do them all together. And I want you to do the same thing with your 80%. Calls, texts, emails, all those things, do them all in the same time block so that you're not spending all your time task switching. Did you know that they actually did a study? And you remember when they would say how goldfish are the happiest animals on the planet, and it's because they only have a 9-second attention span. And today, human beings have a 7-second attention span. Because of how distracted we are, our attention span is now shorter than a goldfish. And so the buffer blocks is something that can help you single task, win at lead generation, then do your 80%, then do your appointments. So buffer blocks. The third one is just blocking, right? Time blocking. And the big thing about this is we all know that we need to block for lead generation, the work that's most important. But I was having a conversation with Jay Papazon one time, and he shared something with me that really changed my life because he was talking about writing block. Now, not like writer's block where they don't know what to write, but he said that he shoots for a certain number of writing blocks every single month and every single year. In fact, he's tracked this for the last 10 years, how many writer's blocks he's actually done. And I said, well, how long is a writer's block? And he said, it's 4 hours, a minimum of 4 hours where he sits down and that's all he does. And I started thinking like, wow, what would your life be like? And I was talking to myself, if you had a 4-hour batch of time where you blocked and did your most deep work, right? The equivalent of writing for a writer. Now, that may be a little bit different for all of us. And yet the block of time that we're essentially looking for here is what is a 3 to 4 hour block of time that if you focused on that one, it would have an amazing downriver impact on your life or your business. For a lot of you, that would be working on the business versus in the business. But when I say blocks, I do mean lead generation, the most important thing. but I also mean what Jay had talked about. 3 to 4 hours of just working on the most important thing in your business instead of chopping it up. Get 4 hours blocked monthly, weekly, whenever you could fit that in. The next one is bunkering. I think that when we look at why people don't follow through, it's because we live in a digital deluge of distraction. And if you're going to win at something, you've got to master the environment. We completely underestimate how much the environment actually enhances or dehances our behavior. And so your environment has to match the goal. If you're sitting there answering text messages, phone calls, all of these things, when you should be doing your one thing, then you are becoming at least 33 to 40% less effective. So does your environment match your goals? And the thing about bunkering is you have to do it on 2 layers, digital and physical. A physical bunker means you close the door and you put a sign up, something that says, I'm doing my one thing, please do not disrupt me. I used to have one that said, I am lead generating unless you are Laura, because she was the MCA at the time, or the building is on fire, please do not knock on my door. So that's a physical bunker. The digital bunker means you put your phone on do not disturb, turn off all the notifications on your computer, and for an hour or 2 every single day, you're just going to do the one thing, the most important work. But do you have a bunker? And then the last one is, what is it you need to bail on? What is it that you're constantly carrying over into the next week? What task, what project, what thing? And it's just weighing on you. And maybe you need to look at that and ask yourself, is this something even worth doing? Or should I just bail on this whole thing? Pull the plug on it. Like there was a spreadsheet one time that I kept looking at, and every single week it would carry over. And eventually I just realized like, that's just going to throw into all the other spreadsheets that I've designed and haven't used. So I'm just going to bail on the idea, thus freeing up the mental calories that it takes for me to think about it and ultimately feel bad about it because I haven't done it. And so I bailed on it. So what is it that you need to bail on? What idea, what project, what thing do you need to just remove and give yourself permission to quit thinking about? So right there are the 5 B's for you to start the path of mastering the 80-20 principle. As I mentioned, Gary said that this is the law of success. He said it is the only law of success that he would be focusing on if he were coaching agents right now. Most of us have knowledge of it, not wisdom. We treat it as if it's a rule to be broken instead of a law to be obeyed. And just a quick recap, the 5 B's. Number 1, what do I need to batch? Number 2, buffer blocks. 3, blocking time, not just for your 20%, but your most important work. 4 is bunkering. And then 5 is bailing. What is it that I need to just give up on the idea of? So there you go, everybody. That is Monday Morning Mojo for this week. Thank you all for being here. Looking forward to our coaching calls and with all of you joining me next week on Tuesday for my expert interview with Ryan Young. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.